Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to this episode where we go deep with our brother into his life as an ex-Satanic prophet. He is here to reveal to us the things that led him into making such a decision to join, and what were the sacrifices he made, which had haunted him for the rest of his life. If you are new here, this is Dangerous African Confessions HD, where we bring to you confession stories to help you make your own informed decisions about your walk with God and life in general. Without taking much of your time, let us go and listen to the story. Please subscribe if you haven't done so, and also do like and share this video, so others out there can also benefit from this conversation, and hit the notification bell as well, so you will be notified anytime we upload videos.
Before we even go on, I am here to tell you my truth. And so, if you ask if I have ended a person's life before, I will be very much honest with you and tell you yes, I have. And it is not just one person. I understand how you feel about it. But then, that is the more reason I wanted to get this out there in the first place. This is not to say there is no true man of God out there. There are so many that are out there. But those people are genuine to the extent that some people do not even honor their calling simply because they don't control or pull in crowd as these ones. Yeah, when I say these ones, I mean the people I was once a part of. People are naturally attracted by how people feel and see things. And so, when they see that people are going here in numbers, their mind automatically feels there might be something great there. That is the strategy the devil uses, and as such, his servants are now regarded as being the ones called and honored by God. But the numbers are the things you see as miracles are all for a purpose. That one, I think I will have to grant you another day so I can explain in details for your followers. You see, I do not want to confuse anyone when I talk. So, I will put that one aside and talk about how I got into serving the devil and the secrets that they need to know about how some pastors and prophets they so much admire got their powers to do what they do. For instance, if I do not talk about how I got my powers as far as my past was concerned, my followers will never get to know how I got it. And in fact, most will stand in and fight for something they don't know its source. And my brother, that is the most dangerous aspect of this whole thing. You see, that is my worry and how far religion in general is or has blinded people into having this blind faith in mortal men like themselves. With that said, let me talk about why we are here. My life, or I will say, my journey into this began with a man. A man who seemed like a savior at the time, a man who offered me a way into the world of true power, a word I had longed for since my earliest days in the ministry. He was known in certain circles in Gabon, a figure of influence, a man of wealth and connections. He had a reputation that stretched beyond the borders of my country, reaching deep into the heart of West Africa. Before I go on, let me say that I am not a full Ghanaian like you might think. My mother is from Gabon and my father is a Ghanaian. That is how come I have been journeying between these two countries like that. With that out of the way, let me continue. The man I said I met, his name was Emmanuel. Let me just use his first name I came to know. I am talking solely about myself and my encounter, and also my experience as a prophet of Satan. He was a powerful preacher, a man who had a way of making people believe he was sent directly from God. I first met him at a gathering of pastors, preachers who were eager to learn, eager to rise higher in their ministries. Emmanuel stood out. He spoke with an authority that demanded attention, a charisma that made it impossible not to listen. He had a vision for something greater, something beyond the typical church services and revivals. His words were sharp, yet his smile was warm. He told stories of power, of miracles that defied logic, and the wealth that followed those who were truly chosen. At first, I thought it was just the usual talk. But something in his words, something in the way he spoke, made me believe there was more, much more. So you see, over time, Emmanuel and I became close. He took me under his wing, saw potential in me that I hadn't even seen in myself. He promised to show me the true power of prophecy, something that went beyond the superficial acts and teachings of the typical church. He spoke of a hidden world, a world where the most influential pastors and prophets were part of a secret hierarchy. They weren't just serving God, they were part of something that controlled the world behind the scenes. The truth is that it was Emmanuel who convinced me that I needed to leave Gabon and travel to Ghana to study under one of the most powerful prophets we have in West Africa. His influence stretched far and wide. His followers flocked to him from all parts of Africa, seeking the kinds of miracles and powers that ordinary men could never attain. He was not just a prophet, he was a kingmaker, a master of hidden rituals, a gatekeeper to the kind of power I had always craved. With no hesitation, I packed my things, leaving behind the small church I had built and the people who knew me as a servant of the Lord. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had begun walking a different path. I was ready for the kind of power Emmanuel promised me, the kind of power that would elevate me above all others. And I thought, with all my heart, that I was still serving God, that somehow, this path would lead me closer to the divine. The journey from Gabon to Ghana was long, filled with anticipation and excitement. I had no idea what awaited me there. When I arrived, I was taken directly to a secluded church, an unassuming building on the outskirts of Accra. The church was large, but there was something strange about it. The air felt thick with a kind of energy that I couldn't quite understand at first. I didn't know it then, but that building would be the first step into a world I would never escape. So, my brother, inside this building, I was introduced to the prophet I had come to study under, one of the most powerful figures in West Africa's prophetic movement. His words were like the law, and his followers treated him with reverence. He was revered, not just as a spiritual leader, but as someone who held the keys to wealth, success, and control. He was a master of ceremonies, a puppeteer pulling the strings of ministers and politicians alike. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't see, was that he was no ordinary man. He was a member of a secret order, a group of the most powerful and influential prophets in Africa, men who had sold their souls for power, for influence, for a life of opulence and dominion. It was through Emmanuel that I was introduced to this hidden world, a world that had its roots in the most ancient and darkest forms of spirituality. Over time, I was told that if I wanted to truly understand the depth of prophecy and gain the kind of power that would make me untouchable, I had to undergo the initiation. I had no idea what that meant at the time, but I was eager, desperate to ascend to the next level. I had already given so much, and now, the promise of ultimate power was within reach. The night of my initiation arrived, and with it, a sense of foreboding that I couldn't shake. I was taken to an underground building beneath the church, an ancient structure hidden from the eyes of the public. This was the true heart of the prophetic world, the place where the most influential men and women in the movement came to receive power. You see, sometimes if you say these things, it becomes difficult for people to believe. But I wish that, at the right time, everyone would get to know the true hidden mysteries of your prophets and pastors alike. So my brother, as we descended into the depth of the building, the air grew colder, the atmosphere more oppressive. The walls were adorned with strange symbols, symbols that seemed to pulse with an energy that made my skin crawl. The ritual took place in a vast, dimly lit chamber. Standing around me were some of the most prominent prophets, men whose names I had heard. They were there to witness my initiation, to see if I was worthy of joining their ranks. The room was filled with an intense energy, one that made my heart race and my mind feel dizzy. I was both terrified and exhilarated, consumed by the thought of the power I was about to gain. The ritual began. I was told to strip away my earthly self, to surrender completely to the forces that would empower me. I knelt before an altar, the room silent except for the whispers of incantations in languages I couldn't understand at first. The chief prophet stood before me, holding a sword that had the strange symbols on the walls. What followed was a series of rituals, each one darker than the last. The chief prophet placed the sword on both of my shoulders and spoke in a ritual language that wouldn't be proper for me to recite here. So, let's move on from the citations and all that. He then picked a dagger to my skin, marking me with a sign that would forever bind me to the powers I had come to seek. Then, I was asked to cut my finger for a drop of blood into a bowl, which the others also did same. Then, I was asked to drink a blood offering, an ancient brew that promised to open my soul to the spirits of the Dark Lords. My body convulsed as the liquid burned its way down my throat, a searing pain that seemed to travel through every part of me, setting my very blood on fire. But the truth is that, even after this, the worst was yet to come. I was made to make my first sacrifice. You see, my brother, I was made to put off every cloth I had on. I hope you know what I mean. My everything was bare like that in front of everyone. And my brother, that was the first time I experienced this thing. Right now, I don't feel comfortable talking about it. But for the sake of this conversation, I think I will have to go ahead with it. I was taken from the back by I think almost about 3 or 4 top members that night. During each process, I am being stripped of my dignity and taken on something different. This is the best that I can explain this process to you. After which, a woman was brought to me in front of them. I was asked to have intimate with her. My brother, the process one goes through before they become what you see out there is not an easy task. That is why, when you mess with them, they can go to any length to deal with you. The thing I must say is that this woman had also been initiated into these practices and had to also gone through the ritual and was left with this final one. Hence the reason for us having to do this in front of them. Our dignity was taken away. This woman was bound by the same promises of power I had once believed. After everything, we were given a robe which was black to wear. And we joined the line to recite the incantations together with them. After this ritual had been done, I felt something change inside me, a rush of power, a feeling of invincibility. The Dark Lords had accepted me. I had been marked. I had crossed the line, and there was no going back. In that moment, I became one of them, a servant, yes, but also a master of the dark forces that had now claimed me. The power was mine, but so too was the cost. But the truth is that I was not done with the rituals and sacrifices for the power I had received. I was given instructions as to what to do and not to do. I was given a period of 1 year to practice with the dark powers until I returned for the next set of rituals or sacrifices. Which I can tell you, my brother, were deeper than what I have even disclosed to you now. So after it all, I returned to Gabon and continued my ministry. Things started to change in the way my ministry was, and I reveled in my power, in the control I wielded over the lives of my congregation. To the outside world, I was a man of great standing. I was a prophet, a holy figure, a leader. But behind closed doors, I was a monster who had performed the most vile and sacrilegious acts. You see, it became routine. Every year, a woman would be chosen, not just for her beauty, but for her purity, for her connection to the spiritual realm. And at the culmination of the ritual, her life would be the ultimate offering to the Dark Lords, a thanksgiving gift for the favors they had granted me. That is the sacrifices and the orders I was given at the end of my first year of using the dark force to prominence. The truth is that I felt invincible, untouchable. The power was all-consuming, and I believed it was mine to control. But power is a dangerous thing. It blinds you. It strips away your humanity until you are nothing but a puppet, a vessel for something much darker, much more insidious than you could ever imagine. And I, the self-proclaimed prophet, had become just that. A puppet. And yet, even as I grew in influence and prestige, there was something stirring deep within me. A question that lingered, unanswered, in the back of my mind: is this really what I wanted? But there was no turning back then. The deeper I went, the harder it became to see the truth. I had sold my soul, piece by piece, for the promises of power, and now I had to live with the consequences.
Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. I want to talk about something that's often overlooked but very important. What you just heard is the painful reality of a man who, driven by desperation and the promise of power, made choices that ultimately cost him his very soul. His journey, though filled with temptation and darkness, serves as a powerful reminder that the choices we make today can have far-reaching consequences, ones we may never fully understand until it's too late. You see, in life, it's easy to feel like we need something extraordinary to escape our struggles, be it fame, money, or success. But remember, those things come at a cost. And sometimes, the cost is more than we can bear. It's crucial to understand that no amount of wealth, no amount of power, is worth sacrificing your soul or compromising our morals. You see, this story isn't just about the supernatural or the occult. It's about the very human struggles we face: poverty, despair, the desire to make things right for ourselves and our families. But be cautious. Always weigh the consequences of your decisions, because every choice, no matter how small it may seem, can take you down a path you may not be able to turn back from. Stay grounded, stay prayerful, and stay vigilant. I hope this message encourages you to be discerning in your journey in life. Thank you for watching, and remember, life is too short to make choices you regret forever. We shall meet again in the next video.